Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Raven's Readings. I do readings twice a week from various classics. If you subscribe to my free Substack newsletter at ravensview.substack.com, you'll get notified of the next episode and can leave your comments or suggestions. And perhaps also browse my flash fiction writings or musings on the world. I will be reading to you from Very Good Jeeves. It's a collection of short stories written by P.G. Wodehouse in 1930. Jeeves, a very competent valet, and his hapless employer Bertie Wooster were characters in dozens of short stories by Wodehouse. Jeeves and the dog McIntosh. I was jerked from the dreamless by a sound like the rolling of distant thunder, and the mists of sleep clearing away, I was able to diagnose this and trace it to its source. It was my Aunt Agatha's dog, McIntosh, scratching at the door. The above, an Aberdeen terrier of weak intellect, had been left in my charge by the old relative, while she went off to Aix-les-Bains to take the cure, and I had never been able to make it see eye to eye with me on the subject of early rising. Although a glance at my watch informed me that it was barely 10, here was the animal absolutely up and about. I pressed the bell, and presently in shimmered Jeeves, complete with tea tray, and preceded by dog, which leaped upon the bed, licked me smartly in the right eye, and immediately curled up and fell into a deep slumber. And where the sense is in getting up at some ungodly hour of the morning and coming scratching at people's doors when you intend at the first opportunity to go to sleep again, well, it beats me. But could you make a dog see that? Not in a million years. Every day for the past 5 weeks, this loony hound had pursued the same policy, and I confess I was getting a bit fed. There were 1 or 2 letters on the tray, and having slipped the refreshing half-cupful into the abyss, I felt equal to dealing with them. The one on the top was from my Aunt Agatha. "Ha," I said. "Sir?" "I said ha, Jeeves, and I meant ha. I was registering relief. My Aunt Agatha returns this evening. She will be at her town residence between the hours of 6 and 7, and she expects to find McIntosh waiting for her on the mat." "Indeed, sir. I shall miss the little fellow." "I too, Jeeves. Despite his habit of rising with the milk and being hearty before breakfast, there is sterling stuff in the McIntosh. Nevertheless, I cannot but feel relieved at the prospect of shooting him back to the old home. It has been a guardianship fraught with anxiety. You know what my Aunt Agatha is. She lavishes on that dog a love which might be better bestowed on a nephew, and if the slightest thing had gone wrong with him while I was in loco parentis, if he had developed rabies or staggers, I should have been blamed." "Very true, sir." "And as you're aware, London is not big enough to hold Aunt Agatha and anybody she happens to be blaming." I had opened the second letter and was giving it the eye. "Ah," I said. "Sir?" Once again, "Ah, Jeeves," but this time signifying mild surprise. "This letter is from Miss Wickham." "Indeed, sir." I sensed, if that is the word I want, the note of concern in the man's voice, and I knew he was saying to himself, "Is the young master about to slip?" You see, there was a time when the Wooster heart was to some extent what you might call ensnared by this Roberta Wickham, and Jeeves had never approved of her. He considered her volatile and frivolous, and more or less a menace to man and beast, and events, I'm bound to say, had rather borne out his view. "She wants me to give her lunch today." "Indeed, sir." "And 2 friends of hers." "Indeed, sir." "Here at 1:30. "Indeed, sir." I was piqued. "Correct this parrot complex, Jeeves," I said, waving a slice of bread and butter rather sternly at the man. "There is no need for you to stand there saying, 'Indeed, sir.' I know what you're thinking, and you're wrong. The old fire is dead. As far as Miss Wickham is concerned, Bertram Wooster is chilled steel. I see no earthly reason why I should not comply with this request. A Wooster may have ceased to love, but he can still be civil." "Very good, sir." "Employ the rest of the morning, then, in buzzing to and fro and in collecting provender. The old King Wenceslas touched Jeeves, you remember, bring me fish, bring me fowl." Bring me flesh and bring me wine, sir. Just as you say. You know best. Oh, and roly-poly pudding, Jeeves. Sir? Roly-poly pudding with lots of jam in it, Jeeves. Miss Wickham specifically mentions this. Mysterious, what? Extremely, sir. Also, oysters, ice cream, and plenty of chocolates with that gooey, slithery stuff in the middle. Makes you sick to think of it, eh? Yes, sir. Well, so it does me, but that is what she says. I think she must be on some kind of diet. Well, be that as it may, see to it, Jeeves, will you? Yes, sir. At 1:30 of the clock? Very good, sir. Very good, Jeeves. At 10:30, I took the dog McIntosh for his morning saunter in the park, and returning at about 1:10, found young Bobby Wickham in the sitting room, smoking a cigarette and chatting to Jeeves, who seemed a bit distant, I thought. I have an idea I've told you before about this Bobby Wickham. She was the red-haired girl who let me down so disgracefully in the sinister affair of Tuppy Glossop and the hot water bottle. That Christmas when I went to stay at Skelding's Hall, her mother's place in Hertfordshire. Her mother is Lady Wickham, who writes novels which, I believe, command a ready sale among those who like their literature pretty sloppy. A formidable old bird, rather like my Aunt Agatha in appearance. Bobby does not resemble her, being constructed more on the lines of Clara Bow. She greeted me cordially as I entered, in fact so cordially that I saw Jeeves pause at the door before biffing off to mix the cocktails and shoot me the sort of grave, warning look a wise old father might pass out to the effervescent son on seeing him going fairly strong with the local vamp. I nodded back at him as much to say, chilled steel, and he oozed out, leaving me to play the sparkling host. It was awfully sporting of you to give us this luncheon, Bertie, said Bobby. Don't mention it, my dear old thing, I said. Always a pleasure. You got all the stuff I told you about? The garbage, as specified, is in the kitchen. But since when have you become a roly-poly pudding addict? Oh, that isn't for me, said Bobby. There's a small boy coming. What? I'm awfully sorry, she said, noting my agitation. I know just how you feel, and I'm not going to pretend that this child isn't pretty near the edge. In fact, he has to be seen to be believed. But it's simply vital that he be cosseted and sucked up to and generally treated as the guest of honor, because everything depends on him. What do you mean? I'll tell you. You know Mother? Whose mother? My mother. Oh, yes, I said. I thought you meant the kid's mother. He hasn't got a mother, only a father who's a big theatrical manager in America. I met him at a party the other night, Bobby explained. The father? Yes, the father. Not the kid. No, not the kid. Right, all clear so far. Proceed. Well, my mother, has dramatized one of her novels, and when I met this father, this theatrical manager father, and between ourselves made rather a hit with him, I said to myself, why not? Why not what? Why not plant Mother's play on him? Your mother's play? Yes, not his mother's play. He's like his son. He hasn't got a mother either. Oh, these things run in families, don't they? I see, Bertie, what with one thing and another, my stock isn't very high with Mother just now. There was that matter of my smashing up the car and, several other things. So I thought, here's where I can get a chance to put myself right. So I cooed to old Blumenfeld. That name sounds familiar. Oh, yes, he's a big man over in America. He has come to London to see if there's anything in the play line worth buying. So I cooed to him a goodish bit and then asked if he would listen to Mother's play. He said he would, so I asked him to come to luncheon and I'd read it to him. You going to read to your mother's play here? I said, paling. Yes, my lord. Bobby nodded. I know what you mean, she said. I admit it's pretty scaly stuff, but I have an idea I shall put it over. It all depends on how this child likes it. You see, old Blumenfeld for some reason always banks on his verdict. I suppose he thinks the child's intelligence is exactly the same as an average audience's, and I uttered a slight yelp, causing Jeeves, who had entered with cocktails, to look at me in a pained sort of way. I had remembered. Jeeves, sir, Do you recollect when we were in London, a dish-faced kid with the name of Blumenfeld, who on a memorable occasion snooted Cyril Bassington when the latter tried to go on the stage? Very vividly, sir. Well, prepare for a shock. He's coming to lunch. Indeed, sir. I'm glad you could speak in that light, careless way. I only met the young pot of poison for a few brief minutes, but I don't mind telling you the prospect of hobnobbing with him again makes me tremble like a leaf. Indeed, sir. Don't keep saying indeed, sir. You've seen this kid in action. You know what he's like. He told Cyril Bassington, a fellow to whom he had never been formally introduced, that he had a face like a fish. And this not 30 seconds after their initial meeting. I give you fair warning. If he tells me I have a face like a fish, I shall clump his head. Bertie, cried the Wickham, contorting with anguish and apprehension and what not. Yes, I shall. Then you'll simply ruin the whole thing. I don't care. We Woosters have our pride. Perhaps the young gentleman will not say that you have a face like a fish, sir. There's that, of course. Oh, but we just can't trust to luck, said Bobby. It's probably the first thing he'll say. In that case, miss, said Jeeves, it might be the best plan if Mr. Wooster did not attend the luncheon. I beamed upon the man. As always, he'd found the way. Oh, but Mr. Blumfield will think it so odd, said Bobby. Oh, I don't know. Well, tell him I'm eccentric. Tell him I have these moods, which come upon me suddenly, when I can't stand the sight of people. Tell him what you like. He'll be offended. Not half so offended if I socked his son in the upper maxillary bone. I really think it would be the best plan, miss. Oh, all right, said Bobby. Push off then. But I wanted you to be here to listen to this play and laugh in the proper places. I don't suppose there are any proper places, I said. And with these words, I reached the hall in 2 bounds, grabbed a hat, and made for the street. A cab was just pulling up at the door, and inside it were old Blumenfeld and his foul son. With a slight sinking of the old heart, I saw that the kid had recognized me. Hello, he said. Hello, I said. Where are you off to? Asked the kid. I replied, and lighted for the great open spaces. I lunched at the Drones, doing myself fairly well and lingering pretty considerably over the coffee and cigarettes. At 4 o'clock, I thought it would be safe to think of getting back, but not wishing to take any chances, I went to the phone and rang up the flat. All clear, Jeeves? Yes, sir. You're sure Blumenfeld Jr. is nowhere about? No, sir. He's not hiding around in any nook or cranny, what? No, sir. How did everything go off, Jeeves? I asked then. Quite satisfactorily, I fancy, sir. Oh, was I missed? I think Mr. Blumenfeld and young Master Blumenfeld were somewhat surprised at your absence, sir. Apparently they encountered you as you were leaving. Oh, they did? An awkward moment, Jeeves. The kid appeared to desire speech with me, but I laughed hollowly and passed on. Did they comment on this at all? Yes, sir. Indeed, young Master Blumenfeld was somewhat outspoken. Oh, what did he say? I cannot recall his exact words, sir, but he drew a comparison between your mentality and that of a cuckoo. A cuckoo, eh? Yes, sir. To the bird's advantage. He did he? Now you see how right I was to come away? Just one crack like that out of him face to face, and I should infallibly have done his upper maxillary a bit of no good. It was wise of you to suggest that I should lunch out. Thank you, sir. Well, the coast being clear, I shall now return. Before you start, sir, perhaps you would ring Miss Wickham up. She instructed me to desire you to do so. Mean she asked you to ask me to? Precisely, sir. Righto, and the number? Miss Sloane 8090. I fancy it is the residency of Miss Wickham's aunt in Eaton Square. I got the number. Presently young Bobby's voice came floating over the wire. From the timbre I gathered she was extremely bucked. Hello, is that you, Bertie? In person. What's the news? Oh, wonderful. Everything went off splendidly. The luncheon was just right. The child stuffed himself to the eyebrows and got more and more amiable, till by the time he had had his third go of ice cream, he was ready to say that any plate, even one of Mother's, was the goods. I fired it at him before he could come out from under the influence, and he sat there absorbing it in a sort of gorged way, and at the end old Blumenfeld said, "Well, sonny, how about it?" And the child gave a sort of faint smile as if he was thinking about more roly-poly pudding, and said, "Okay, Pop." And that's all there was to it. Old Blumenfeld has taken him off to the movies, and I'm to look in at the Savoy at 5:30 to sign the contract. I've just been talking to Mother on the phone, and she's quite consumedly braced. "Oh, terrific," I said. "I knew you'd be pleased. Oh, Bertie, there's just one other thing. You remember saying to me once that there was nothing in the world you wouldn't do for me?" I paused a trifle warily. It is true that I had expressed myself in some such terms as she had indicated, but that was before the affair of Tuppy and the hot water bottle, and in the calmer frame of mind induced by that episode, I wasn't feeling quite so spacious. You know how it is. Love's flame flickers and dies. Reason returns to her throat, and you aren't quite so ready to hop about and jump through hoops as in the first pristine glow of the divine passion. "Just what do you want me to do?" I asked. "Oh, well, it's nothing I actually want you to do. It's something I've done that I hope you won't be sticky about. Just before I began reading the play, that dog of yours, the Aberdeen Terrier, came into the room. The child Blumenfeld was very much taken with it and said he wished he had a dog like that. So naturally I had to say, 'Oh, I'll give you this one.'" I swayed somewhat. What was that?" "I gave him the dog. I knew you wouldn't mind. You see, it was vital to keep cosseting him. If I'd refused, he would cut up rough, and all that roly-poly pudding and stuff would have been a waste. You see—" I hung up. The jaw had fallen, the eyes were protruding. I tottered from the booth, and reeling out from the club, hailed a taxi. I got to the flat and yelled for Jeeves. "Jeeves! Jeeves!" "Sir?" "Do you know what?" "No, sir." "The dog, my Aunt Agatha's dog, McIntosh?" "I have not seen him for some little while, sir. He left me after the conclusion of luncheon. Possibly he's in your bedroom?" "Yes, and possibly he jolly dashed well isn't. If you want to know where he is, he's in a suite at the Savoy." "Sir?" "Miss Wickham has just told me she gave him to Blumenfeld Jr." "Sir?" "Gave him to Blumenfeld Blunier, I tell you, as a present, as a gift, with warm personal regards." "What was her motive in doing that, sir?" I explained the circs, and Jeeves did a bit of respectful tongue-clicking. "I have always maintained, if you will remember, sir," he said, when I had finished, "that Miss Wickham, though a charming young lady—" Yes, never mind about that. What are we going to do? That's the point. Aunt Agatha is due back between the hours of 6 and 7. She will find herself short one Aberdeen Terrier, and as she will probably have been considerably seasick all the way over, you will readily perceive, Jeeves, that when I break the news that the dog has been given away to a total stranger, I shall find her in no mood of gentle charity." "I see, sir. Most disturbing." "What did you say it was?" "Most disturbing, sir." I snorted a trifle. "Oh," I said. "And I suppose if you'd been in San Francisco when the earthquake started, you would have just lifted up your finger and said, 'Oh, tweet, tweet, shush, shush. No, come on, come. The English language, they used to tell me at school, is the richest in the world, crammed full from end to end with about 1,000,000 red-hot adjectives. Yet the only one you can find to describe this ghastly business is the adjective disturbing. It's not disturbing, Jeeves. It is, well, what's the word I want? Several syllables beginning with C." "Cataclysmal, sir." "Yes, I shouldn't wonder. Well, what's to be done?" "I will bring you a whiskey and soda, sir." "What's the good of that?" "It will refresh you, sir. And in the meantime, if it is your wish, I will give the matter consideration." "Oh, carry on." "Very good, sir. I assume that it is not your desire to do anything that may in any way jeopardize the cordial relations which now exist between Miss Wickham and Mr. and Master Blumenfeld? Eh? You would not, for example, contemplate proceeding to the Savoy Hotel and demanding the return of the dog? A tempting thought, but I shook the old onion firmly. There are things which a Wooster can do and things which, if you follow me, a Wooster cannot do. The procedure which he had indicated would undoubtedly have brought home the bacon, but the thwarted kid would have been bound to turn nasty and change his mind about the play. And while I didn't think that any drama written by Bobby's mother was likely to do the theatre-going public any good, I couldn't dash the cup of happiness, so to speak, from the blighted girl's lips, as it were. Noblesse oblige about sums the thing up. No, Jeeves, I said, but if you can think of some way by which I can oil privily into the suite and sneak the animal out of it without causing any hard feelings, well, spill it. I will endeavor to do so, sir. Snap into it, then, without delay. They say fish is good for the brain. Have a go at the sardines and come back and report. Very good, sir. It was about 10 minutes later that he entered the presence once more. I fancy, sir— Yes, Jeeves? I rather fancy, sir, that I've discovered a plan of action. Or scheme? Or scheme, sir. A plan of action or scheme which will meet the situation. If I understand you rightly, sir, Mr. and Master Blumenfeld have attended a motion picture performance. Oh, correct. In which case they should not return to the hotel before 5:15. Oh, correct once more. Miss Wickham is scheduled to blow in at about 5:30 to sign the contract. The suite, therefore, is at present unoccupied? Except for McIntosh. Except for McIntosh, sir. Everything, accordingly, must depend on whether Mr. Blumenfeld left instructions that, in the event of her arriving before he did, Miss Wickham was to be shown straight up to the suite to await his return. Oh, why does everything depend on that? Should he have done so, sir, the matter becomes quite simple. All that is necessary is that Miss Wickham shall present herself at the hotel at 5 o'clock. She will go up to the suite. You will also have arrived at the hotel at 5, sir, and will have made your way to the corridor outside the suite. If Mr. and Master Blumenfeld have not returned, Miss Wickham will open the door and come out, and you will go in, secure the dog, and take your departure. I stared at the man. How many tins of sardine did you eat, Jeeves? None, sir. I'm not fond of sardines. You mean you thought of this great, this ripe, this amazing scheme entirely without the impetus given to the brain by fish? Yes, sir. Oh, you stand alone, Jeeves. Thank you, sir. Oh, but I say— Sir? Well, suppose the dog won't come away with me. You know how meager his intelligence is. By this time, especially when he's got used to a new place, he may have forgotten me completely and will look on me as a perfect stranger. I had thought of that, sir. The most judicious move would be for you to sprinkle your trousers with aniseed. Aniseed? Yes, sir. It is extensively used in the dog-stealing industry. But Jeeves, dash it, aniseed? I consider it essential, sir. Oh, but where do you get the stuff? At any chemist, sir. If you will go out now and procure a small bottle, I will be telephoning to Miss Wickham to apprise her of the contemplated arrangements and to ascertain whether she is to be admitted to the suite. I don't know what the record is for popping out and buying aniseed, but I should think I hold it. The thought of Aunt Agatha getting nearer and nearer to the metropolis every minute induced a rare burst of speed. I was back at the flat so quickly that I nearly met myself coming out. Jeeves had good news. Everything is perfectly satisfactory, sir. Mr. Blumenfeld did leave instructions that Miss Wickham was to be admitted to his suite. The young lady is now on her way to the hotel. By the time you reach it, you will find her there. You know, whatever you may say against old Jeeves, and I for one have never wavered in my opinion that His views on shirts for evening wear are hidebound and reactionary to a degree, but you got to admit that the man can plan a campaign. Napoleon could have taken his correspondence course. When he sketches out a scheme, all you have to do is to follow it in every detail, and there you are. On the present occasion, everything went absolutely according to plan. I never had realized before that dog stealing could be so simple, always having regarded it as rather something called for the ice-cool brain and the nerve of a steel. I see now that a child could do it if directed by Jeeves. I got to the hotel, sneaked up the stairs, and hung about in the corridor trying to look like a potted palm in case anybody came along, and presently the door of the suite opened and Bobby appeared, and suddenly as I approached, out shot McIntosh, sniffing passionately, and the next moment his nose was up against my trousers and he was drinking me in with every evidence of enjoyment. If I had been a bird that had been dead some time, he could not have nuzzled me more heartily. Aniseed isn't a scent that I care for particularly myself, but it seemed to speak straight to the deeps in McIntosh's soul. The connection, as it were, having been established in this matter, the rest was simple. I merely withdrew, followed by the animal in the order named. We passed down the stairs in good shape, self reeking to heaven, an animal inhaling the bouquet, and after a few anxious moments were safe in a cab, homeward bound. As smooth a bit of work as London had seen that day. Arriving at the flat, I handed McIntosh to Jeeves and instructed him to shut him up in the bathroom or somewhere where the spell cast by my trousers would cease to operate. This done, I again paid the man a marked tribute. "Jeeves," I said, "I have had occasion to express the view before, and I now express it again, fearlessly. You stand in a class of your own." "Thank you very much, sir. I am glad that everything proceeded satisfactorily." "The festivities went like a breeze from start to finish. Tell me, were you always like this, or did it come on suddenly?" "Sir?" "The brain, the gray matter. Were you an outstanding, brilliant boy?" "My mother thought me intelligent, sir." "Oh, you can't go by that. My mother thought me intelligent. Anyway, setting that aside for a moment, would a fiver be any use to you?" "Thank you very much, sir." "Not that a fiver begins to cover it. Figure to yourself, try to envisage, Jeeves, if you follow what I mean, the probable behavior of my Aunt Agatha if I'd gone to her between the hours of 6 and 7 and told her that McIntosh had passed out of the picture. I should have had to leave London and grow a beard." "I can readily imagine, sir, that Mrs. Spencer Gregson would have been somewhat perturbed." "Oh, she would. And on the occasions when my Aunt Agatha is perturbed, strong men dive down drain pipes to get out of her way. However, as it is, all has ended happily. Oh, great Scott!" "Sir?" I hesitated. Seemed ashamed to cast a damper on the man just when he had extended himself so notably in the young master's cause, but it had to be done. "You've overlooked something, Jeeves." "Surely not, sir." "Yes, Jeeves. I regret to say that in the late scheme, or plan of action, while guilty as far as I'm concerned, has rather landed Miss Wickham in the cart." "In what way, sir?" "Why, don't you see that, if they know she was in the suite, the Blumenfelds, father and son, will instantly assume that she was mixed up in McIntosh's disappearance, with the result that in their pique and chagrin they will call off the deal about the play. I'm surprised at you not spotting that, Jeeves. You would have done much better to eat those sardines, as I advised." I waggled the head rather sadly, and that moment there was a ring at the front doorbell. And not an ordinary ring, mind you, but one of those resounding peals that suggest that somebody with a high blood pressure and a grievance stands without. I leaped in my tracks. My busy afternoon had left the old nervous system not quite in mid-season form. "Good Lord, Jeeves." "Somebody at the door, sir?" Yes." "Probably Mr. Blumenfeld, senior, sir." "What?" "He rang up on the telephone, sir, shortly before you returned, to say that he was about to pay you a call." "Oh, you don't mean that?" "Yes, sir." "Advise me, Jeeves." "I fancy the most judicious procedure would be for you to conceal yourself behind the settee, sir." I saw that his advice was good. I had never met this Blumenfeld socially, but I had seen him from afar on the occasion when he and Cyril Bassington had had their falling out, and he hadn't struck me then as a bloke with whom, if in one of his emotional moods, it would be agreeable to be shut up in a small room. A large, round, fat, overflowing bird who might quite easily, if stirred, fall on a fellow and flatten him to the carpet. So I nestled behind the settee, and in about 5 seconds there was a sound like a mighty rushing wind, and something extraordinarily substantial bounded into the living room. "This guy Wooster," bellowed a voice that had been strengthened by a lifetime of ticking actors off at dress rehearsals from the back of the theater. "Where is he?" Jeeves continued suave. "I could not say, sir." "He sneaked my son's dog." "Indeed, sir." "Walked into my suite as cool as damn it and took the animal away." "Most disturbing, sir." "And you don't know where he is?" "Mr. Wooster may be anywhere, sir. He is uncertain in his movements." The bloke Blumenfeld gave a loud sniff. "Odd smell in here." "Yes, sir." "What is it?" "Aniseed, sir." "Aniseed?" "Yes, sir. Mr. Wooster sprinkles it on his trousers." "Sprinkles it on his trousers?" "Yes, sir." "Well, what on earth does he do that for?" "I could not say, sir. Mr. Wooster's motives are always somewhat hard to follow. He is eccentric." "Eccentric? He must be a loony." "Yes, sir." "Oh, you mean he is?" "Yes, sir." There was a pause, a long one. "Oh," said old Blumenfeld, and it seemed to me that a good deal of what you might call the vim had gone out of his voice. He paused again. "Not dangerous?" "Yes, sir, when aroused." What rouses him chiefly?" "One of Mr. Wooster's peculiarities is that he does not like the sight of gentlemen of full habits, sir. They seem to infuriate him." "What, you mean fat men?" "Yes, sir." "Why?" "One cannot say, sir." There was another pause. "Well, I am fat." "I would not have ventured to suggest it myself, sir, but as you say so, you may recollect that, on being informed that you were to be a member of the luncheon party, Mr. Wooster, doubting his power of self-control, refused to be present." "Oh, that's right. He went rushing out just as I arrived. I thought it odd at the time. My son thought it odd. We both thought it odd." "Yes, sir. Mr. Wooster, I imagine, wished to avoid any possible unpleasantness, such as has occurred before. With regard to the smell of aniseed, sir, I fancy it proceeds from behind the settee. No doubt Mr. Wooster is sleeping there." "Doing what?" "Sleeping, sir." "Does he often sleep on the floor?" "Most afternoons, sir. Would you desire me to wake him?" "No." "I had thought you had perhaps something you wished to say to Mr. Wooster, sir." Mr. Blumenfeld drew in a deep breath. "So did I," he said. "But I find I haven't. Just get me out of here alive. That's all I ask." I heard the door close, and a little while later the front door banged, and I crawled out. It hadn't been any too cozy behind the settee, and I was glad to be elsewhere. Jeeves trickled back in. "Gone, Jeeves?" "Yes, sir." I bestowed an approving look on him. "One of your best efforts, Jeeves." "Thank you, sir." "But what beats me is why he ever came here. What made him think that I had sneaked McIntosh away?" "I took the liberty of recommending Miss Wickham to tell Mr. Blumenfeld that she had observed you removing the animal from his suite, sir. The point which you had raised regarding the possibility of her being suspected of complicity in the affair had not escaped me. It seemed to me that this would establish her solidly in Mr. Blumenfeld's good opinion." "I see. Risky, of course, but possibly justified." "Yes, on the whole justified. What's that you've got there?" "A £5 note, sir." "Ah, the one I gave you?" "No, sir. One Mr. Blumenfeld gave me." "Eh? Why would you give you a fiver?" "He very kindly presented it to me on my handing him the dog, sir." You don't mean to say—" "Not McIntosh, sir. McIntosh is at present in my bedroom. This was another animal of the same species, which I purchased during your absence at the shop in Bond Street. Except for the eye of love, one Aberdeen Terrier looks very much like another Aberdeen Terrier, sir. Mr. Blumenfeld, I'm happy to say, did not detect the innocent subterfuge. Jeeves, I said, and I am not ashamed to confess there was a spot of chokiness in the voice. There is none like you, none. Thank you very much, sir. Owing solely to the fact that your head sticks out at the back, thus enabling you to do about twice as much bright thinking as any given time as any other two men in existence, happiness, you might say, reigns supreme. I am on velvet, and Agatha is on velvet. The Wickham's mother and daughter are on velvet. The Blumenfeld's father and son are on velvet. As far as the eye can reach, a solid mass of humanity, owing to you, all on velvet. A fiver is not sufficient, Jeeves. If the world thought that Bertie Wooster considered a measly £5 an adequate reward for such services as yours, I should never hold my head up again. Have another. Thank you, sir. And one more. Thank you very much, sir. And a third for luck. Really, sir, I am exceedingly obliged. Excuse me, sir, I fancy I heard the telephone. He pushed out into the hall, and I heard him doing a great deal of the "yes, madam," and "certainly, madam" stuff, and he came back. Mrs. Spencer Gregson, sir. And Agatha? Yes, sir. Speaking from Victoria Station. She desires to communicate with you with reference to the dog McIntosh. I gather that she wishes to hear from your own lips that all is well with the little fellow, sir. I straightened the tie. I pulled down the waistcoat. I shot the cuffs. I felt absolutely all righto. Lead me to her, I said. End of chapter. Again, Jeeves to the rescue, with a cash bonus. Bertie comes out clean, and maybe Roberta will keep a bit more distant. Just a reminder, if you subscribe to my free newsletter at ravensview.substack.com, you'll get notified of my updates as soon as they're ready. Plus, you can browse the very short stories and musings I have in there. If you enjoyed this reading or have other classics you'd like to hear, do leave me a comment. Check out my other posts on my Substack, and remember to share this with your friends. Ta-ta for now.